Hi, myself is Shalini Bharadwaj. You all are watching ITV Networks Medically Speaking. So today we are going to discuss about food, how food literally affects our mankind as well as well-being and mental health. We have with us on our panel Dr. Vipul Rastogi, who is a senior psychiatrist from Medanta Hospital, and Megha Jaina, who is a senior dietitian from BLK Hospital. You all are welcome to Medically Speaking. My my first question goes to Megha Jaina. Ma'am, it is literally very important for a pregnant woman a nutrition diet. How it affects basically a fetus and how it is important to have a good nutrition diet during pregnancy.
Okay, it's a very important question, Shalini. See, the nutrition is very important in all the stages of life. So, pregnancy it's the first step. It's the development of the fetus. There is the expansion of the mammary glands. There is the mineralization of the skeletal and the taste buds and the overall of the fetus development. So, nutrition is basically the first step for the overall health of the child in the mother's womb. So, how important it is to eat? The first of all, the mother should be taking a high protein, high calcium, and high iron diet. And vitamins and minerals are play a very important role. And especially nowadays, what we see that on the name of weight loss, many times the mothers that they don't put on excess weight, they are following certain fat diets. So these things should be kept in consideration.
Especially, ma'am, how it affects fetus, especially if we talk about brain development also. In that particular case also, doctor suggests to go for omega-3 diet also. How it affects brain health?
Okay. So omega-3 and 6, people are very nowadays familiar to these two terms, omega-3 and 6. Actually, they are essential fatty acids and they are required for our, the development of the cell membranes and for our overall good health. Now, it is very important that both the nutrients, they work together for the promotion of a good health. So the equal is very important. Now, the nuts, seeds, your fish oils, maybe the people who take non-vegetarian, the oily fish is very important. Nowadays, people are not taking ghee in the form of that we will put on weight or something. So all these things are very important for the brain development of the child. So I will suggest that one should be including all these things, milk and milk products, everything on the daily basis for the development of the child. And for the brain health too.
My next question for Dr. Vipul. Sir, how a food is connected with the mental health?
Okay. So, Shalini, we all know that, a happy and a contented meal can make us feel happy. And if we have come back after work and if we see, the food that is not appealing to our senses, it will make us more irritable. So food definitely, works on how we feel about us and how the day is going, and it affects us in multiple ways. We also know that we would tell people not to have coffee later on in the evening because it can disturb sleep. If the sleep is disturbed, then of course you're going to have a terrible day the next day. We tell kids not to have sweets or not to give them chocolates or sweets towards the end of the day because they become hyperactive. So food, we know, affects us quite a lot. Now, when we talk about food, it can have a short-term impact, it can have a long-term impact. Short-term impact is what we've just been talking about. But when we talk about long-term impact, so if we are eating a high calorie, high sugar, and high fat diet, then it affects the arteries of our body. Now, those arteries will affect, of course, the heart we always talk about, but the blood vessels are same, whether it is the heart or the brain. So if the cholesterol is accumulating in the brain, then also it affects the memory. And, of course, there are mood centers that can also get affected. So we have to look both in terms of short term and long term. And as Dr. Jaina was just talking about, that if the nutrients do not go into the body, so we know that certain nutrients, if we go back to 1980s, there was a lot of push towards having salt, iodized salt, because if people do not take iodine in their diet, then they get then the thyroxine is not made, which is a thyroid hormone, and people of course will put on weight and all that stuff. But if the thyroid is less, then we also feel depressed. So these micronutrients also go a long way in helping how we are, and how we become and how we behave. So food becomes an important part of our life, and as I said, it affects both the physical and mental health.
We have with us Dr. Manjari Tripathi also, who is a senior neurologist for All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Ma'am, what is the connection between food and, especially neurological disorders?
Well, there's a lot of, interdependence, and food has a very important role in modifying the course of any, disease which could happen to a person as they age. As rightly said, sugar, particularly at a young age, is responsible for a lot of hyperactivity. And we know that ADHD spectrum disorder is a disorder which is seen, and we see children who have been given loads of sugar, like a typical American breakfast starts with all sugary and chocolatey, donuts and cake items.
High calorie diet.
Yeah, so these are going to increase hyperactivity. So that's for kids. We also know that the growing brain, particularly in children, needs a balanced diet. Now, this concept of balanced diet is kind of fading. So, what most diets address is, okay, you should have a high protein and a low carb. But if you see a traditional diet, there has to be a healthy amount of carb, which is not the high glycemic index. It is a low glycemic index carb.
Okay.
It is a carb which is a complex carb, and the complex carb takes a lot of time in getting metabolized, so it's not going to be harmful. And it also has to have fiber. It also has to have vitamins. It also has to have, the healthy fats. And we know the healthy fats now. For sure, mustard oil is a very healthy fat. Olive oil, though alien to us, all of us may not relish the taste. Olive oil is also good for the brain. We also know that the cold pressed oils, that is the oils which are pressed for the first time, rather than highly refined, are also good. We also know that we have to avoid dalda, we have to avoid refined kind of stuff, and we also know that we can consume a little bit of ghee. We know omega-3 fatty acids are good, and some of them are found in nuts, particularly in your walnuts and flax seeds, etc. So we know all this information. But as it comes to preventive diets for neurology, it has been established by research that the MIND diet and the DASH diet, these are diets, these are Mediterranean diet and low salt diets, which are very good for the brain. Now, if you look at Mediterranean diet, what does it have? It's very rich in greens. It's very rich in legumes and cereals.
Okay.
By cereals, I don't mean these ready-made packet cereals. The cereals means what we consume in terms of, the millets, etc. And then it's very rich in, fish. Now, fish is fine. Fish is very good. But one must know where the fish comes from. The fish has to come from pure, fresh water or even sea water. Unfortunately, most of the fish, particularly in developing world, are coming from water where there's factory inflow. So there's a lot of factory pollutants which are getting into the water, and we are consuming that fish which is rich in mercury and rich in many other toxic chemicals. So it's very important to remember that, while fish is good, but where this fish comes from is also very important.
Yeah,
Apart
that's
from
very
that,
important.
we have to avoid red meat. So when people say don't eat red meat, it actually means it's good for you because it's going to prevent the cardiovascular as well as the cerebrovascular stroke-like incidents. So red meat is definitely a no-no, and red meat would mean your, goat and your, God forbid, if you have to have any other kind of red meat like beef, etc. So basically, you have to avoid it. That's a complete no-no. The white meat, which is chicken or fish, is okay, provided you know what source it is coming from, how that meat has been looked after. Okay, nowadays you have chicken meat, and you know the chicken is being fed with hormones to become
Mhm.
plump and fat and increased in weight to bring profiteering to the marketeers. So
Yeah.
it's also important that you are actually not consuming that kind of stuff. Then comes the role of milk. Milk is very good, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, again, milk. There's a lot of milk business. It's become a business. So the cows, particularly in the dairy, are being injected by hormones, and these hormones have a deleterious effect on the body and the
Especially
brain. So
oxytocin hormone. I heard about it.
yeah. So it's very common because they want to increase the yield. You see, it's a business. So, gone are the days where every household had its own cow in the backyard and they would milk it, or, gone are those days. It's become a mass industry. So these are the limitations. Though, having this chicken or fish or milk would be good, if you can get pure without any contamination by hormones or by chemicals, it will be really a blessing. So the Mediterranean diet is really, really good. The DASH diet is basically a low salt diet. So as you grow older, you have to consume low salt so that your blood pressures are under control. And if the blood pressures are under control, less likely the risk of stroke. So really, you need to have that in mind. Then, of course, the nutrition has to be achieved by simple things which are easy to make. So there is one Poshan Abhiyan which the government has started. And if you look up the recipes in the Poshan Abhiyan, some of the recipes are really very good, very easy to make. Even things like, Mrs. Smriti Irani showed a nice video about, a Manipuri girl making a very interesting dish with Jimmy Kand, which is all, and mustard leaves and tomato and garlic and ginger. And it was so if you see the all is actually having a lot of omega-3 fatty acids. So you're having omega-3, you're having the mustard leaves, and you're having the ginger and tomato. So it was a very balanced thing in the Poshan Abhiyan. So I think most of the recipes which the government of India has put up in the Poshan Abhiyan are very, very nutritious, very, very easy to make, very, very healthy. So I would go again for saying that most of the times, 80 by 100, 80 by 100, we should be consuming this healthy diet of greens, sprouts, nuts, good milk, good white meat, good low amount of salt, 80% of the time. I would say 10 to 20% of the time, because we are humans, we could cheat maybe once in a month, have a little bit of oily stuff, or chole bhature, or have a little bit of cake. Once or twice in a month you could, so that 20% could be cheating diet, which would satiate the urge to have the junk food, or even make a pizza at home, or what have you. So really, you cannot, if you tell somebody you are not to have a pizza, if you tell somebody you're not to have a samosa, if you tell somebody you're not to have this, they will definitely want to have it. So what I advise to my patients is that 80% of the time have a good diet, which is what I listed, and 10 to 20% of the time keep a cheat date where you can probably make a healthy fast food diet at your home. It's not difficult to make these things at home and have it in a clean way. Of course, roadside stalls, if they're hygienic. Now, particularly for the brain, when it comes to food hygiene, particularly for the brain, is the consumption of raw veggies, which are there in burgers. So you have the lettuce in the burger. You have the cabbage in the Chinese momos and the Chinese fast food sold on the streets. Now, they want to again have a business out of it and make profit selling you these items to eat. But what is important to remember is where those are coming from. And the food hygiene in our country, unfortunately, if you go to most vegetable markets, the vegetables are sold and they're kept on the footpath, or they're kept on the ground where there's a lot of dust falling, as well as the fields. Fortunately, the incidence of open air defecation is coming down with Swachh Bharat campaign. But if fecal material is mixed with the raw leafy vegetables, and these raw leafy vegetables reach your burger as lettuce or eat your momos and your Chinese noodles, because you know they're not fully cooked there. They're just stir fried. They're not cooked fully. They are a bit raw and crunchy when you eat them. So the eggs of these tapeworms, which is the cysts of these tapeworms, they are attached to these leafy vegetables and they gain access to your mouth and your stomach. Through the stomach lining, they go to the blood vessels and then they go to the brain. When they go to the brain, they are established there. There is no way that they can exit the brain. And they cause a disease called neurocysticercosis.
Yeah.
Now, this neurocysticercosis results in seizures. And if there are many neurocysticercosis, it can lead to dementia also. So it's very important that not just the mind diet, the DASH diet, the Indian diet with haldi, etc., but also the food hygiene, the cleanliness of the leaves. Avoid eating these raw stuffs outside, which will lead to a healthy brain, prevent neurocysticercosis. It's not possible always, but as far as possible.
Yeah. Dr. Megha, my next question from you, how junk food is related to, aggression behavior amongst children especially? Because, I read out a lot of studies in which it is written very clearly that, if a pregnant woman, she takes a lot of junk food during pregnancy. So in future, a child can be aggressive. How it is related to this?
It has a very direct connection. See, junk food, when we see the junk food, if we compare the Western and the Indian junk food is still better because the grain used is still staple. We had some vegetables, which is total cooked, as ma'am was explaining, that it's not raw. But if we take the Western junk food, like they are more of dead foods, the pizza basis, okay, it's the complete maida, the plain flour, no fiber at least. Then lot of cheese. Again, cheese, if the lot of cheese, then if the mother is not exercising, she's putting on weight. So the same result is the fetus. So the overweight child and the overweight mother. So the sedentary lifestyle again has a direct impact with, the functioning of the brain and our behavior. Then all these, as sir also explained, the high sugar diets. So when we are having so much of, and then all these come with the package of, if you have seen the particular, nowadays that they are offering a free Coke, fountain Pepsi and fries and something. So now the hydrogenated fat, no fiber and plus lot of sugar. So what happens then when we have so much of sugar and saturated fat? So the capability of our brain and our physical activity is already none. So this really impacts our daily physical activity and our thinking and everything. So what happens with the high sugar, this hyperness increases and like the ADHD. And as sir also said in his this wordings that when we say that no coffee or something, why? Because then this hyperactivity increases. And there is no nutrition in all these foods. As I said, they are already dead foods. So no fiber, no vitamins, no proteins, nothing in that. So nothing to compare as home cooked. And we can have this junk foods in a very healthy manner at home. Nowadays, I can see that there are millet bases, that our buckwheat base for the pizza. Then we can have the cheese at home. We can make with cashew nuts. There are many recipes and especially plant-based diets like Mediterranean diet, ma'am said. So the same way in our India, we are using many plant-based diets. So we can use nuts and seeds in the form of cheese and everything, which can be spread as instead of mayonnaise and everything. So one should be opting for healthy things.
Dr. Vipul, sir, how behavioral changes you have seen in those patients, especially who comes to you with a problem of depression, anxiety, or if we talk about hyperactive children. So how it has been related? What kind of behavioral changes you have noticed?
You can look at it from 2 points of view. The first one is that a lot of people will do comfort eating. So comfort eating is that people eat to modify their mood. So they will eat more to feel happier or feel satisfied. So those people, they will become even more duller as they go along. So because, they will put on weight, they are sedating, they slow you down, or there are foods that are high in sugar or caffeine, which will disturb the sleep. So one part is there's people who are trying to modulate their mood through eating unhealthily. So of course it is a disco. I mean, we call it as a mal coping or a bad coping mechanism. So good coping mechanisms are, people go for a walk or they exercise. So those are good coping mechanisms. But comfort eating is a bad coping mechanism. So it makes the things further go bad. Now, the other thing is that people with depression do not generally have very good motivation to change or do things for themselves. So it is, we can't really blame people for going towards bad or unhealthy lifestyles, but it is just the nature of the disease that is there. And one thing that we advise people to get better is, go back into some sort of a routine, eat healthy, use the right proportions, avoid, smoking, alcohol, high calorie foods. And that's how they get their energy levels back, their sleep cycle back. And that's how they show improvement, along with whatever else we have to do in terms of medical treatment. But the routine and the diet definitely helps in getting them better.
Dr. Manjari, there are studies that, which relates that, high sugary diet especially weakens the immune system. What you would like to say about it? How it works?
Definitely, sugar is a highly purified chemical. Basically, sugar is a chemical. And if you actually go to a sugar factory and you see how it is made, first of all, you will not be able to stand there. Okay, there's so much of smell. I'm sure all of us have passed in a vehicle past a sugar factory, and the kind of smell you get there, none of us can stand. So the smell itself is unpalatable. It's a very bad kind of smell. There's a lot of sulfur. There are a lot of chemicals in that. And to make the sugar white, because sugar is originally, the sugar we have is mostly from sugar cane. It's not beet sugar, it's not other sugar. It's coming from the sugar cane. So if you look at the process, the sugar cane juice is taken out, and then you have it boiling in a large cauldron in factories where the thickening of the sugarcane juice occurs, which is known as rab, and then you have some of them make it good, and then the whole rab undergoes a bleaching kind of process, and sugar is formed. So it's basically a chemical. Now, any chemical is not good for the body. So I would say it has been convincingly shown that high sugar diets are bad for anybody with cancer. So if you have cancer, you have highly multiplying cells, and you're feeding these cells sugar, and the cells are going to multiply more and more. So a high sugar diet is going to be bad for getting any malignancy. A high sugar diet is going to be bad for children with hyperactivity. And as you just said, sugar itself is a toxin. So to me, the sugar push by the sugar industry is something, and sugar is an acquired taste. If you're going to feed the child, sugary stuff at breakfast right from the day they are born to, they're going to be habituated to it, and they have the sugar urge to have sugar. Whereas if you minimize the amount of sugar, you do not give high amounts of sugar, you replace the sugar with either jaggery or with palm jaggery, which are much, much healthier. Believe me, jaggery has a lot of iron. It also has a lot of micronutrients like magnesium and selenium, which sugar doesn't have. So that's a better alternative than sugar for any disease. Sugar is bad just for any disease. Across the board, I would again say sugar is not actually a food substance, it's a toxin.
Dr. Vipul, sir, how dietary habits are linked with memory loss, dementia, we can say?
So one, memory is largely based on concentration. So if somebody is taking a high sugary diet, that their concentration is not the best. We've just talked about hyperactivity mode. So of course, they're not going to make good memories. So that's one part, but that's not dementia. But that is just people will not have good memory in ages like yours or mine. The second is, if people eat a very high sugary diet, then of course, compounded with the fats that they have and extra cholesterol, then people can just like people have heart attack, angina, that sort of thing. In the brain, there's something similar happening, which is called transient ischemic attacks or strokes. So they also affect the memory there because, as the cholesterol accumulates, the brain functioning reduces. So in the long run, right, so it can affect, or something called a vascular dementia can happen. So it's important to imbibe good habits in children. So if they are, if a good background, if we are able to give them a good background, a good stable childhood where they know what is good for them, what is bad for them, so these good habits will persist with them through their adulthood and the elderly life. So in the long run, it can reduce the chances of developing things, illnesses like dementia.
Yeah. Dr. Megha, my next question is from you. How we can replace these sugary diets, chocolates with other things, if we talk about the kids especially, because they demand chocolates, toffees. How we can replace them?
Okay. So homemade desserts are always better as compared to this chocolates and all this the stuff in the market available, because first of all, in the market whatever is available, they are full of preservatives and preservatives to increase the shelf life. See the dates, they are for the 6 month, 8 months you can keep the chocolate. And many times you have seen, once open the wrapper of something, you can see that white substance on the chocolate. So it's already, it's not good for us. So how can we replace
What exactly that white substances?
This is all the preservatives which are being used and the stabilizers to make the chocolate. So it is not good for one's health, especially for our heart health, for our brain health, and for nowadays we have seen that this gestational diabetes, that the ladies are diabetic in their pregnancy time. And even the kids, when they are in the toddler stage only, we are being told that, we are telling our patients that control their weight right from the childhood, because the obese child has, it's a potential candidate for many lifestyle disorders when he grows as an adult. So how to replace them? We can use fruits in the home, and we can make it as some sorbet, just crush them and keep in the fridge to give them as a replacement of, now we are heading towards summers for the ice creams. Then always I remember that when we used to, in the festival times, the kheer and the laddus made at home. Now again, we are coming to the same thing, all they are rich in omega-3 and 6. The ghee is there, nuts are there, and the healthy flour is there. They are used to make in rava or even the millet or something, the kheers. We can use coconut milk and put the chopped this fruits in there to replace the fruit cream. So again, cream is very high in fat. So we can replace it with coconut milk. We can replace it with low fat curd. And all these things, they are very good replacements for desserts for the kids. And the taste is always very good. It's only the habit of forming right from the childhood.
That's very important. Dr. Manjari, what message you would like to give?
I would like to tell all the people who are watching this that what goes into our mouth, is what we are. So we are what we eat. And this is not me saying it. This is a, old time Sanskrit saying.
Yeah.
And for that, if we have to be, fit without disease, and be active till old age, it is essential that we monitor, have healthy food, and avoid, I would say avoid things which are white, like maida, salt, even white rice. Try to have hand pound rice or unpolished rice, and have things which are natural, made at home, and avoid things which look like too good to look at. Unfortunately, most kids they go by the appearance of the food. And Indian food is just laid out, whereas if you look at the fast food and the Western food, they decorate it in such a way of food aesthetics that it looks very pleasing.
It attracts
But the
children.
contents, the contents are actually not good. So if mothers could just make the Indian food look like, say, a Mickey Mouse on the plate, the same food which we eat, and make it a little more interesting in appearance, I'm sure no Indian kid would want to eat the Western fad or fast food, which is really harmful for us.
Dr. Vipul, sir, as it gives a direct impact on mental health as well, what message you would like to give?
Well, it's an old age saying, way to man's heart is through his stomach. I think it's also true that a good mental health is also based through the stomach. So eat healthy, look after yourself. A good diet along with a good exercise and a routine will help you have a good concentration, good memory, and a good mood.
That's very important. Thank you, Dr. Manjri. Thank you, Dr. Vipul, as well as Dr. Megha for joining us on Medically Speaking. So it is very important to take a balanced and good diet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.